So I'm just start to record, okay? Yes. And so now we are all.
Oh, I think Bastian has my link. It's new again.
Ask him to register.
I think he needs a new link. I'm gonna send it.
So I think now we can start. Okay.
Yes.
All good with you?
Yeah.
Perfect. But I cannot click. Maybe it's already start. I don't know. Diffuser. Okay. We are okay. People are coming. Hi everyone. Thank you for joining. Okay,
hello.
People are coming. We're gonna wait a few seconds before we've got at least 20 people. Okay. Now we've got 20. So let's start. Hi everyone, welcome to. Oh, there was some issue with the microphone.
It's good. Oh, sorry.
Marzia, maybe on your side.
Good.
Okay, maybe we should switch off the microphone. Sorry everyone. Okay, so hi everyone, welcome to the Summer Adtech Festival. Thanks Smart for hosting the event, and we are delighted at Pubstack to be one of the partners of the event. This is summertime. We are having a drink in Pubstack rooftop in the French Riviera, and suddenly we wonder, what if it was the end of SSP era? Fake news or sad reality? But what about the end of DSP or any other tech vendors? These are top questions. This is perhaps the right time to reboot our industry. ASBA study has created a lot of noise recently, highlighting that 15% of each pound spent just disappear. We are facing many uncertainties, and there is a lot of initiative which may change the way we work today. So BI is the title. The purpose of the panel today is to offer a better view of the supply chain and to unveil possible transformation and their impact. We want to explain how programmatic company operates and bring transparency to help regain trust from both advertiser and publisher. Okay, and to help also industry to discuss further and to try to find a solution together. I think coordination is very important. So I am Philippe. I work at Pubstack. I spent the last decade working for publisher in different ad tech companies as Freewheel and in Groupe Digital. I was also a publisher once at Deezer. No complexity at all at this time. It was a very simple ad stack with one unique ad server. We were using Smart, if I remember well. We had, of course, some reseller for unsold inventory, but it was pretty easy. And today I invited Alexandra, Céline, Ingrid, and Marzia for a talk. So thank you all for joining. Alexandra, would you like to start and introduce yourself, and maybe after give the floor to one of your teammates?
Yeah, for sure. Hi, my name is Alex Ong. I head up business development for Ad Cloud in EMEA. Adobe Advertising Cloud is an omni-channel DSP working alongside brands and media agencies. We help brands and agencies plan, buy, measure, and optimize on a singular platform across all channels, from display to video to audio, and so forth. So yeah, my team looks after specifically supply side partners, SSPs, broadcasters, and publisher direct.
Thank you. We want to go next. Marzia?
Yes. So hi everybody, I'm Marzia. I'm the executive head of programmatic at Unify. We are a European publisher managing different websites as Marmiton, Feminin, Netmams, or Feminin in different countries in Europe. About myself, I've worked in programmatic since 2014. I've started on the buyer side. I work in an agency and then in a trading desk. And 3 years ago, I moved on the publisher side, joining of Feminin, which now is called Unify.
Thank you, Marzia. Céline, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. So I'm a brand planning director at Jellyfish, based in Paris. Jellyfish is a global company, a digital partner that is working with top advertisers on every aspect of their digital marketing, so ranging from media operation and consultancies and analytics or even cloud computing. So we're working on really every aspect of it, and we are obviously working with publishers here in France, especially to help bridge the gap between the supply side and the demand side of the programmatic ecosystem.
Okay. Ingrid?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Philippe, and thanks, Pubstack, for the invitation to this panel. Very happy to be with you today and with the other girl. So I'm Ingrid Couasnon. I'm EVP EMEA at Smart, and I oversee the sales activity in 7 countries with the help of my local team who address both the sales side and the demand side. I take care of publishers since 11 years working at Smart. And before, I was also taking care of publishers at Yahoo during 4 years. So what about Smart? We are an Adtech company providing an ad monetization platform built for premium publishers to serve demanding buyers thanks to an ad server, a natively built SSP, and a DSP. And we have a unique strategic positioning based on a specific shared interest approach across the value chain. Smart has a strong tech background as we are operating since 20 years from our headquarters in Paris and from 11 other offices, both in Europe, Americas, and recently in APAC.
Okay, thank you all for introducing yourself. We will be together for 45 minutes to describe the supply chain and all its complexity. Also explain the initiative industry has engaged. There is a Q&A box, so feel free to drop any question, and we will take 5 minutes to answer them at the end of the panel. So let's start. So first question, would you help us better understand the value chain here? It will be too easy if I ask you to explain what your company does, of course. So let's play a little game, and where which one of you will introduce another teammate's company. Céline, you work at Jellyfish.
I think I meant to start. Actually, it's funny that you asked me to present what a publisher does, because I have never worked for a publisher or any supply side technology. So I'm probably going to give a very simple definition. As I said, Jellyfish works with advertisers, and that's what I've been doing previously in my career. So for me, publishers are media. They own websites and applications when we are speaking about the online market, because obviously they can have also other kind of formats. And most of them support themselves or have built their business model over advertising. And so that's what we're talking about today, even though they can also have subscription models, but that's another thing.
Okay. Maybe Marzia, would you like to add something? Or
I think it's quite self-explanatory, yes.
Okay.
And basically, we have ad inventory that we use to monetize. Our business model is based on ad monetization, yes.
Yes, okay. Alexandra, would you like to go next and explain what an SSP does?
Sure. So an SSP, primarily their clients will be the publisher. So they help them monetize their inventory through different types of, I guess, buying functionalities. There be programmatic guaranteed, standard PMPs. Some of them offer curated marketplaces or group deal IDs, as well as open marketplaces. You know, historically it was a yield management tool to kind of take away that spend and kind of have more optimized revenue for publishers rather than what they were getting at an ad network level. Along with connecting all their inventory sources to demand sources, whether, you know, primarily DSPs, they also facilitate the billing against all of those demand sources as well.
Okay. Ingrid, sounds good to you?
Yeah, pretty well said, but I had no doubt.
Okay, perfect. It's your turn to to introduce what a DSP does on the supply chain.
Sure. So a demand-side platform, DSP, is a system for advertisers to purchase and manage ad inventories from multiple ad sources through a single interface. And this whole setup is termed as programmatic advertising. And the bidding process by which ad placements are auctioned is called real-time bidding. So this is a simple definition of what is a DSP. We could add much more, explaining their sophisticated algorithm transact.
Definitely. Alexandra, good for you?
Yep, good for me.
Perfect. Marzia?
Yes.
But maybe it's much easier for you because you work for a trading desk before, so you already had an idea about what a trading desk is doing.
Yeah, I was a media trader before, so it's quite an easy one for me. And I used to work with Celine at this trading desk. So basically, a trading desk is a company that manages the advertising budget for a direct client or an agency, and purchases through programmatic channel ad inventory on real-time bidding on publisher websites. So basically, they run campaigns trying to reach the KPI clients gave to them. It could be branding, performance, attend viewability, CTR still. So this is what the trading desk is doing. I don't know what you think, Celine.
I completely agree with you.
Perfect. Thank you all for playing this game. So I think we have a pretty good overview of supply chain. We have the main players within the chain, but still it seems to be much more complex than that. Before the demands meet the supply, there are many Adtech vendors, involved. If you check the TCFV2 vendor list, there is at least 400 and more Adtech vendors. And there is many third-party partners to check viewability, brand safety, data, fraud, or now, of course, obviously, the consent. Marzia, as a publisher, could you explain this complexity from a publisher perspective?
Yeah, sure. So if I take our example at Unify, so it's already quite complex just on the publisher side, because we manage 16 websites in around 10 countries in Europe, the States, and Latin America. We work with around 18 SSPs and monetization partners. So in other bidding, they're all competing with each other. And we sell video, display, native inventory on desktop, mobile, and in-app. So every country, every media type, every device has its own specificities. So it's quite complex to manage everything in the same way. And this is just on the publisher side. So if you take the whole supply chain, there's a lot more complexity and a lot of actors participating to the supply chain. And some actors are also present in multiple times during the supply chain, taking fees every time. So.
Okay. Thank you, Marzia. Ingrid, Alexandra, anything you would like to add?
Yes, maybe one word about this complexity, which is true. Over the last few years, programmatic has become increasingly complex, with a ton of new players bringing their own expertise and technology to solve also specific problematics around brand safety, fragmented environment, ad fraud, and so on. Let's remind also everyone that programmatic trading is a business like it already existed in the financial sector. This sector is also extremely complex, but it works. So to me, in my opinion, the problem is not so much the complexity that can be understood, because it is about pipes that are integrated with each other, but it is a question of transparency and of who takes part and for what added value. So for instance, to me, the question to Unify and Marzia would be, do you know exactly what added value your 18 SSP is bringing? And not only, I'm not talking about only revenues. So this is today one of the major questions the value chain has to solve.
Okay.
Or has to
Yeah, at the end, there is not only revenue. Yeah, you need also to work with trusted and transparent partners. You know, Alexandra, anything to add about this complexity? Because I would say that Marzia, Ingrid, and I worked on the supply side, and we don't have so much feedback about the demand, how complex it is. And I do believe that advertisers also have to deal with many partners and a lot of complexity. Maybe we don't know.
Yeah, so I think, you know, we've heard about it in the past few years with regards to, you know, in-housing. And I say this with quotations because I don't believe it, you know, brands are truly taking everything in-house. I think what we are seeing is that they are taking control. And I think that should be that conversation out there. They're taking control of their MarTech stack. They're taking control of their Adtech stack. And obviously it started with ourselves as DSPs. So, you know, we work with various brands out there that are using us as their preferred DSP or their sole DSP to say, okay, I know what, you know, how much money I'm going to be putting through these partners. But now they're kind of getting to that next stage of looking at, okay, I have my buy-side platform. There's so many supply-side platforms out there. Who do I know and who do I think would actually bring value to me, and what inventory sources do they have? So I know with some agency groups, they already are talking to specific SSP partners to say, you're going to be one of our top 5 partners for the year because you kind of checked all the lists from ourselves.
Okay.
We are seeing that brands are starting to engage in conversations with SSP partners. So there is that brand direct aspect where they'll say, maybe they'll work with a few instead of all the ones that are available within a DSP. Because from our perspective, from a supply side, we are just agnostic. We want to plug our clients to everybody. But if they want to kind of put their own SPO to a certain extent and say, we only want to work with these 3 or 5 or however many, that's really up to them. But I think that's kind of the iteration that we're seeing complex but complex in a very positive way, that brands can actually know, where is my money going to a certain extent. Obviously, there is a 1/3 according to ISPA that we don't know where the money's going, but you know, for the most part, they want to take control. They want to know what's happening. But so I think that control aspect is really strong. I just don't think that all the brands out there are going to take everything purely in-house.
Okay, thank you for your feedback. Celine, would you like to have a last word and conclude about
so first, I completely agree with Alexandra. I think this in-housing trend is really interesting and is also shaping the way the market is transforming itself right now. And it might be because there is this in-housing movement that we actually want more simplicity at this time. Mm-hmm. And what I would like to stress as well is that yes, there is a lot of complexity on the market, especially since we have so many Adtech players in the whole programmatic chain. But there is a reason why we actually ended up with such a complex market. And the reason to that is that we were actually so demanding towards programmatic media buying that we wanted to measure everything, and we wanted to do it twice because once wasn't enough. So I think now we're entering this kind of maturity level when everybody has understood that there are things that programmatic is doing that are great, and to do it well, we need to accept to have a more simple way to do it. And I think in-housing is really interesting because it will help, I think, advertisers understand how the market is working and what publishers are doing, and maybe to build trust between them to gain more simplicity and stop measuring things, all the same KPIs twice, as we said. And that's what Marzia said when she mentioned that some players are actually working with the demand side and the supply side and taking fees on both sides.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, thank you, Celine, for sharing this. Based on this positive complexity, do you have any clue where the 50% is going? You know, on the ESBA study, the report that 50% we don't know where this money were going. I believe this complexity is not helping reaching the transparency we are all looking for, of course. But do we talk about genuine discrepancy or undisclosed tech? as buyer pay bill on DSP numbers, sellers pays bill on SSP numbers, do we have to reduce this 15% or do we have to understand it? So where do you see this number, like 51% goes to publisher and 15 get lost? What is your feeling, Marzia, Ingrid, about these two numbers?
First, Philippe, I guess that this 50% number is not new. The first time on my side, I saw this graph on the value chain was at ATS Paris in 2014. What is really worrying is that in 2020, we are still here, despite the fact that there has been a cleanup within the industry. The fees, especially for SSP, have dropped a lot for everyone. However, what's fairly new with the ISB report is that we don't even know where the money is going. So it's 15%. I don't have the clue. I don't know exactly where it is going. I would love to do, and I'm sure that we will find it. Does this mean that the practice of hidden fees is not over yet?
Yes.
One possibility. Does it mean also that the fraud has become so sophisticated that we are not able to detect it?
Yeah.
Some global initiatives such as ads.txt or even seller.json are good at getting new standards for better quality and clarity. But for sure, we need now to accelerate other initiatives. You know how we love at Smart Trust ID. The aim is to track a campaign throughout its life cycle with a unique campaign ID to provide full traceability throughout the digital advertising chain. So we really think that it's urgent to move, even if, and it's true, that it will not solve everything. One person from Price who did this report said on another panel yesterday that Trust ID is definitely the first step. That's that we will need to find other way to finally solve those 15%. For the remaining 41 plus 15, I think everyone knows where it is going. After, it's again a question of added value that each publisher and advertiser has to define on their own targets.
Okay. And for you, Marzia, especially this 51%, because on top of that, I guess you have many costs.
Exactly. So yeah, as you said, we still have to track it for real. So maybe with Trust ID, we can really track the budget that comes in our pockets from the buyers. But even after we get this 51%, then it's not really net revenue because we have a lot of cost that we have to sustain to manage our ad stack. So people first, because programmatic is not just automation. There is people behind. There are yield manager, salespeople, developers, a lot of them. We have to pay platforms because we have to pay the fees for SSPs and the ad server. And also we have more and more tools that we need to have to monitor who's getting impression, if there is discrepancies, to solve the ad fraud, because this, as Ingrid said, is very sophisticated, and unfortunately SSP are not really able to filter it for us, so we have to pay additional costs to block the ad fraud and protect our users. And we have to pay costs to track viewability and brand safety again, even if the advertiser already track it on the site. So it's not just 51% coming in our pocket. Yeah.
Okay. And what are your feedback on the demand side when you see these numbers, and what also are the latest change you have experienced between ad tech companies in the market? You know, maybe to bring more standardization, to bring more collaboration, and to, let's say, be more transparent for the advertiser at the end.
Yeah, I guess I'll go. Well, I guess it's a theme that we've kind of just heard already from Marzia and Ingrid is within ad tech, and concerns from both buy side and sell side will always be, how do I enhance transparency, number one, and how do we maintain brand safety? I feel like that's where we build a lot of new products, and that's where seller JSONs come through, that's where Adtech has come through. So I think that kind of technology does help. But Philippe, I very much agree with you. I think standardization is what is being asked for in the market. Everyone, we've got the ISMA reports saying this is where all the money is going, and then Google, who recently pulled out their numbers to say, here's, we're taking a 31% cut. There's no standardization there. That's just the Google world, and then ISBA is just within what programmatic is within the UK. So I think standardization is really important to our market. I think where we'll probably see maybe a little bit more enhancement, maybe around blockchain, because then you can actually probably track what's happening and where your money is going. So I guess Trust ID, I think you ladies were mentioning yesterday, is becoming more maybe an IAB European standard. So I think standardization will then at least allow us to understand, okay, that 15% that we don't know where it's going, oh, it could be going to a consultant fee, or maybe it is fraud, like Ingrid has mentioned. But I think we kind of need to agree what the numbers are and how we're going to all measure it, because unless we have that, then everyone's going to be doing their own thing and allowing for different types of reporting.
Okay. Thank you very much, Alexandra. Celine, anything to add on this?
Yeah, so working on the demand side, I think that hearing that publisher only get like 50% of the cake should be a great concern, because they are actually the one who are creating value at first on this market by creating the content, by reaching out to the users. They are the only one who are actually in touch with them in the first place. And there is such a great responsibility that they are bearing. Even when we talk, for example, about privacy and GDPR, they are the one responsible for implementing the consent management platform. Even the advertisers have to do it as well, but most of them don't have the same kind of audience. So I think that should be a great concern, and that's why we've been trying to actually straighten the relationship between us as a buyer and the publishers, building like real partnerships, both on media and data. And one thing, if I come back to in-housing, when we actually support advertisers in their in-housing projects, we usually help them. We actually organize meetings between them and the publishers on their market. And that's something that they are not used to do, that they didn't do when they were working with an agency. And it's actually very valuable, and we end up with very rich conversations. So advertisers really understand what the publishers are doing and why we have to value their work.
Okay. It's a very good initiative. It's a very good.
Thank you, Celine.
Yeah, and Marzia, she was smiling from the beginning.
Yeah.
It's a nice initiative, but of course it's going to take time for all advertisers to understand, all the work we push on the supply side, and especially on publisher. And at Improve Digital, of course, I have to work closely from the demand side to drive more demand for my pipes. SSP could be seen as competitors for publisher, as they are trying to reach the same people, the same agency. What about DSP agencies also trying to go straight to supply, as you just say, Celine? I am curious to hear you, Marzia, about this. Do you meet advertiser, sometimes, and to explain your inventory, your brand, and so on?
Yeah, we do it sometimes. So, for example, with Celine company, sometimes we've done some three parties meetings. We talk with DSP as well. Technically, with pre-bid and with other bidding, it is possible to connect directly to DSPs. But what we don't see, it's with the complexity of inventory we have, it would be a lot of work on the technical side, on the legal side, because you have to have a contract and a DPA with all of them.
Don't forget this one.
And also the finance part, because you have to do all the billing at the end of the month and then chase people for money. So I think for the moment, it would be impossible to manage this unless you have a very big programmatic team that can manage this entirely. So, and we have a very good relationship with SSPs we're working with. So at this time, we cannot kill the SSPs, you know?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you cannot.
They're generating the added value for us because they're doing a lot of work for us, even if there is some work to do on the ad fraud side. But I mean, this is touching all supply chain parts because it's come from the DSP and then goes through SSPs. Nobody can stop it till the end when it arrives at the publisher side. So
okay, so it is something you could do, but you cannot do it at scale because it takes a lot of time to handle that. Okay,
yeah.
So it could be an initiative with some of the advertiser, but it will be still difficult for you to do it at scale. Okay, great, thank you. There are a lot of initiative innovation on the market. So seller JSON, of course, to bring transparency on the market. Seller JSON, Adtech in the past, for me it worked. Trust ID is another one. Could you just confirm that all this initiative and innovation was good for a market? And for instance, Marzia, have you seen maybe more money, or it was a good leverage for you to get more money, or just a good way to clean, the supply chain, which is a good start?
Yeah, if I can do an example, which maybe we be more talking, because we put in place Adtech I think around 2 years ago. And our big website in France is called Marmiton, but the link is marmiton.org, and everybody is trying to type marmiton.com. And there were some people, publisher, I don't know, that were selling marmiton.com domain, but it was not us. So there was actually some domain spoofing going on. So they actually helped stop this kind of fraud. But there is still a big, I'm sorry, I'm talking just about fraud in this topic, but there is still a big part of fraud going on, which is a big problem. And for the moment, there is not really an initiative or going on to stop this.
Okay, perfect. And I know that Ingrid, you have been engaged at Smart about all this initiative. What is your feedback after 2 years, for instance, and implementing Adtech, seller.json, and Trust ID, which is pretty new? What is your feedback? Does it change something?
Yeah, it has changed, especially for the clarity and who we are working with, how we're working with added value customers, especially when it comes to networks and not direct publishers. It's a metric we are following very carefully. Again, just before this panel, I had a meeting around this topic. We are seeing some market where our share and revenues with some direct publisher are decreasing, just because we can see that last year there was...
We've lost you, Ingrid. Bye-bye.
Wi-Fi problems.
Okay, she's still not there. Okay. So I was about to ask you.
Oh, you're back.
I'm not in Paris. I'm in Nantes. So
yeah, but I am in Nantes also, and the
Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi should be working in Nantes, right?
Come on, don't blame your nice city.
It's true. Yeah, so I was saying that thanks to Adtech and seller.json, we are able to see many things. And I was speaking about this example of a big publisher where our revenues are decreasing. And we were seeing that last year we had this domain through 9 networks, and this year, June 2020, we are seeing this network since this domain among 20 networks. So at the end, those customers are very added value customers for Smart, but also for the publisher. It means that we will have lots of education to do again. Because we're working, I'm not speaking about 20 SSP, I'm speaking about 20 networks that are working probably also with 20, 30 other network plus SSP. So this is not possible anymore. We need to clean. And this cleaning also, we want to do it to protect our infrastructure, but also to do our own SPO, to protect our demand buyers and our partners, the DSP. So definitely it helped a lot to address the strategy we want to have.
Okay, thank you, Ingrid. And on the demand side, Alexandra, Céline, have you also noticed some very good impact for your companies, you know, about this initiative? And do you know if there is another initiative, you know, like Trust and D in the US or, you know, in other geo to bring more transparency and to help the advertiser to regain trust on digital?
Well, do you mind if I start with the French market, and I'll let you maybe broaden the discussion? But as far as we're concerned, I think those initiatives were great. First, because they reassure us as buyers, and they reassure our clients. We need more transparency. We need more means of control. Because when Marzia is speaking about domain spoofing, obviously she might be thinking that she's losing revenue, but what we're thinking of is brand safety.
It's your revenue.
Yeah, it's your revenue. Yeah,
yeah, definitely. But it's also the brain safety that is at risk, and I mean that's one of our main concerns when launching a campaign. So we definitely need those kind of initiatives, and we really believe, especially in the Trust ID initiative that we're supporting and testing right now with Smart. So we're completely behind it, and we hope it will just get optimized in the next years.
Okay.
Yes, I think from AdCloud, even before we were AdCloud, we were even to mobile. This has been kind of a big topic for us. So we've always looked into domain spoofing. We map every URL that comes into our platform. What sellers.json and subtext did was just automate for us rather than the manual aspect of what we've been doing since 2012. So I definitely think we are moving in the right direction. I haven't done the full analysis of how much better it is. I just think that it has automated from our sales team, because prior to that, we only are going to be working with premium partners out in the market, and that's always been focused from my team globally. Additionally to that, what we've also done is, we have the non-human traffic program, which we launched in 2016, so that any fraudulent activity that advertisers would run on our platform in an open market, we refund that back to them in an invoice. And with SSP partners as well, we put a lot of controls. So we would try to not work with aggregators as much. We try to limit specific partners as well. So we know that publisher, maybe Unify was available through one SSP, and most of your inventory was like, the top audiences that we could get. We would open that and then kind of shut off any other Unify opportunity with other SSP partners to kind of create that type of SPO strategy for us. So I think the initiatives are good. I think it's going the right way. From our perspective, it's been something that we've been manually doing for so long.
Okay, I think, yeah, for me, Trust ID, it's a very good initiative, because first, everyone is involved on this. All the supply chain has to be compliant, and it's also for me a good way to standardize everything on the supply chain. It will help definitely to bring more standardization on the supply chain. As a conclusion, I've got one last question. It's what our industry will look like if tomorrow there is no DSP, no SSP, if we just remove some like tech company on the supply chain. It's a tough question. It will not happen tomorrow for sure. But let's play this game and imagine a world without this, with these big tech partners. Marzia, you are.
Tough question for me.
Yeah.
So I actually think we will be talking a lot about this Trust ID initiative. And it's funny that we talk about trust because our market and the kind of tools we're using to monitor every impression doesn't show trust in each other. So I really think trust, I mean, it's a bit cheesy, but I think trust, it's very important in the supply chain. So we need to have more direct relationships between all the part of the chain. So talk more between advertiser, DSP, SSPs, and publishers, and have trustworthy relationship. So we know where the money is going, we can track every penny, and maybe we can remove some bits from the chain and earn more money, keep more money in these difficult times. So for some partners that are maybe not creating an enormous added value. Mm-hmm. So we talk about a lot of partners that are present multiple times. So do we really need to check viewability every time on the publisher side, on the buyer side? Or maybe if you know that we're buying a good inventory, that the KPIs are good, is it that enough? So maybe it's a question for everybody, mostly for the buyer side.
If I may, I think that to eventually rebuild trust, like we obviously need to track all those impressions and where the money goes, but tracking won't be enough because we also need to educate. I'm thinking of us and our advertisers to understand how these new process and protocols are working. We're talking about Trust ID, but naming it Trust ID won't be enough. Like we really need them to understand why it's actually efficient and how it's working. And we also need to find a way to clearly report on all those data that we're tracking and that we're getting, so they get a clear view of where their money is going as well.
Yeah, and the ability, thanks to first there is Trust ID, and to bring trust, but traceability, which is key. But also about what you were saying, it's about how to handle this big data which is coming, and that some players we are able to do that, to send log level data to publisher, but also to the demand side. But once I've done that, are you able, publisher, are you able, demand side, to treat this data? Do you have the right tool to crash it? And do you have the resources? Do you have data analysis? Because it costs a lot after that to understand what does it mean, this data. So there is different steps. What we are asked, and some players are able to do it, some others are not. But after, it's true that both for the advertiser and the publishers, the tools that are at each side of the chain, they need to invest. It's not so easy, and we need to understand. And they have agencies to help. They have technologies to help also. That probably the complexity that we were speaking about at the beginning is here, and not so much, maybe less about how is working the programmatic. Now this is where the complexity is, in order to be sure that everyone understands where the money goes, performances, and so on. And we should not forget also that we are expecting a lot from a digital campaign, which is not the case in terms of measurement.
Yeah. From TV, from print.
Yeah. When we speak about other media, it's less precise, let's say.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I just don't see that. I know we're playing devil's advocate here to say, you know, what would the world be like? But I really don't think there will be a world without what a DSP or an SSP. I definitely think there's going to be a lot of consolidation. And I think that because, you know, we, from an Adobe's perspective, we talk about the convergence of MarTech and Adtech, and we see clients, you know, Celine, you probably do as well, who want to leverage their first party data, and they want to do it across multiple channels. there isn't a singular ad server that I can really think of at this point that can deliver that with, you know, all those data points. That's why, and then also, you know, we come into a world of regulation and privacy and GDPR, and what, you know, the IAB has worked so hard on is that, you know, standardization of the, you know, the TCF. That's so hard to try to, you know, build on your own, and then have that also connect to everyone else along the chain if there is no a DSP and an SSP. So I know that it'd be complicated. We think it could be simpler, but I actually think where we are currently in the space of advertising, I think it's going to create even more complexity to what we kind of are talking about as a complexity already.
Okay, thank you, Alexandra. I think we are done about the panel. If the attendees have any question, you know, feel free to drop them on the Q&A box. I'm gonna check if there is any question. Okay. I've got one. As a publisher, hearing that we only get 51% of the revenue is very concerning, of course. Would you suggest working with DSP rather than SSP then? What can a publisher do to claim a more appropriate amount of revenue? I think it's a question for Marzia, but we already answered it, that there is some initiative from publisher to talk with advertiser and to make sure advertiser understands, you know, what is the business for publisher. But Marzia, if you want to
I think we already talked a bit about that, but what we do is we have more and more direct deals. So in that case, we can track more the revenues. We know how much the buyer is spending, wants to spend on our inventory, and we can do PMPs, programmatic guaranteed. So we do more and more direct relationship and direct deals with the buyers that want really to be present on our website.
Okay.
Philippe?
Yes.
If I may add something.
Of course.
Question from a publisher. Work with a DSP rather than a SSP.
Yeah, but it's always
no?
rather than SSP. You know, it's I've worked for SSP for 10 years. So.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that a publisher should not partner or speak with DSP to understand everything. But what I want to insist of what is saying Marzia, because we are definitely convinced that take back controls is also thanks to private transactions. So any kind of private transaction, open auction is really good. You can now add a lot of competition to put pressure on prices, CPM. The more you do that, the less you control also. So it should stay the right balance between what you control. Also, the more open auction you have, the more fraud you can have, the more risk you have. So it's really important to understand that. And also about the share and how a publisher can understand. We know that some publishers are doing regularly this really easy test, which is take a seat if you don't have one, or ask someone you know just to buy a small part of your inventory, thanks to a DSP, and then compare the figures. And you can do that through all the SSP and see what has been spent, and see what you received. It helps quite a lot to see the difference between all players. And it's rather easy test.
Okay. Thank you, Ingrid. I've got another question. Hi, with Criteo that years ago got integrated directly in publisher stack. Now publicists trying to have a direct approach with header bidders of publishers. We have heard about this news a week or 2 weeks ago. Can we imagine a world without SSP at all? It's always the same. I think it's no, because we are talking about initiative, and if you want to do it at scale, you know, and Marzia was explaining that in France they are pretty strong, so they could have very direct initiative with advertiser, but in Spain, in Italy is not the case. So, and they need SSP, you know, to do do the job for them. So I think it's tough to imagine a world without SSP. But Ingrid.
No, but I mean, it would be interesting to get feedback from publicists. What are they expecting from that? Also, what are the advertisers are expecting expected from that. They have a target, they should solve something, and obviously something interesting to look at. Now I'm expecting more results.
Yeah.
Then how to live without SSP, and how Marzia can handle, I don't know, 20 partner like this. Like tomorrow she had to integrate the Trade Desk DB360 at Nexus and all the DSP, and then who will manage the risk of payment.
It's a big risk, yeah.
Something that SSP are doing.
Yeah,
We just had the crisis, the COVID crisis, and helped a lot our publishers thanks to a payment on time. Sorry, but it's still something that is important to remind. And also we are doing app fraud. It's maybe not perfect, as Marzia said, but we can do a partnership with our publisher using the same technology. For us, it's convenient, and we sync everything. There's many other problematics that SSP are solving, which is costly. So tomorrow it means that publisher will have to handle source cost also.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was actually trying to imagine the world without SSPs. But for example, with our inventory, you know, we have, as I said, 16 websites, 10 countries. Imagine even if you connect with the 5 big agencies in every country, it's already a lot of work. But then it means you will lose this, I don't know, 20-30%, which is represented by smaller buyers, the long tail.
Yeah.
And we cannot lose this kind of money. And
for this.
We have internal resources to do the technical connections and everything, but this is not the case for most of publishers. They are smaller, they have less resources, so not everybody could do that.
Okay. One last question. It's about SPO between buyers and sellers and gathering a universal ID to identify people and initiative like Trust ID to identify campaigns, plus the analysis of the log data are main part of the solution. So of course we already discussed about Trust ID, and for me the main issue about the log level data, there is a cost behind the log level data. There is a cost. It's not for free. You need to hire people which might be able to understand and play with this data. You need to also have BI tool to digest the data. So for me, I'm not sure it's part of the solution because it's pretty complicated. Maybe for big advertiser, it could help, you know, to get access to this log data. But for smaller player, I think it could be a nightmare. I don't know what is your feeling about this topic, about the log level data, but for me it's too expensive to do it at scale. And programmatic for me is to do things at scale, not only an initiative for one publisher or one buyer.
All right, except if a new technology emerges to solve the issue, you know, something quite disruptive, such as Pubstack, to solve the reporting for header bidding. It's which is interesting because it's mainly about the biggest challenges of the industry. SPO, for sure, it's one, especially for the demand side. Gathering a universal ID to solve the identity, I would not say issue, but a challenge for the next 2 years. Trust ID and log level data, it's mainly what keeps us busy at night, let's say.
Okay. Okay, I've got one comment from Salome. So I cannot share this. Okay, thank you, Alexandra, Céline, Marzia, Ingrid for joining this panel today. It was a pleasure to organize it with you. I think we are done for today. So bye everyone, and thank you, of course, and have a nice summer.
Thank you.
Bye everyone.
Bye everybody. Bye bye.